Welcome back, Canonites. With Halo Infinite being a 10-year game, there are bound to be changes and additions through its life. In fact, when news first hit that the normal M90 M45 shotgun and the M6 Magnum were being replaced, 343 did say that these could be added to the game down the line, not unlike how the classic Spanker rocket launcher was added to Halo 5. So I've been thinking lately, what other weapons could be, or should be, added to Infinite throughout its lifetime? Today, I thought I'd look at 15 weapons I'd like to see added to Halo Infinite. Why 15? Well, as I thought about this subject and some others I want to discuss, it became obvious very quickly that weapons from existing games would dominate a top 10 list. So I decided to split things into two sections. 5 weapons I'd like to see that are purely from the expanded universe or have otherwise never appeared in the games, and 10 weapons that have appeared in previous games, including spin-offs like Halo Wars or the Spartan mobile games. And why only 5 from the EU? That's simply because there are too few to really make a top 10 list that's all that interesting. I actually struggled to gather 10 items that were unique enough, and while I sadly had to cut a few from the list as a result, I think the final video will be more enjoyable for it. The basic idea here will be to list off the weapons one at a time, talk about their history, and then where they could fit into the weapons sandbox, sometimes more loosely, sometimes more specifically. And at the end, of course, I'll want to hear your thoughts. So without further ado, let's look at the top 15 weapons I want to see added to Halo Infinite, starting with weapons that have otherwise never appeared in the games. Number 5. The Energy Cutlass. The Energy Cutlass is similar to the Energy Sword in many ways, yet distinct. Composed of a complex amalgamation of chemicals, plasma, and alloys, the heart of the Energy Cutlass is a shard of blamite, the same crystal used in Needlers. Typically employed by Kig Yar, the Cutlass can be used to cut down enemies, or embedded in the enemy, exploding after a brief period of time just as blamite is known to do. If this came to Infinite, I would largely see it as a reskin of the Energy Sword with a few tweaks. Like, perhaps it takes 2 kills to strike down an enemy, though perhaps it gives the player a faster melee to accommodate for the longer time to kill. And as an alternate mode of sorts, the Cutlass could be stabbed into an enemy, maybe even thrown, exploding after a few seconds or so. I could see some fun times rushing into a horde of enemies, stabbing the Cutlass into one of them, then retreating as one enemy is killed and the others are seriously wounded. I won't lie, the main reason I want this in is because it sounds damn cool, which is true of many of these non-game weapons, but still. Number 4. The Buzzer, or Hard Sound Rifle. Next up we have what's generally referred to as the Hard Sound Rifle. Having only appeared in the ARG I Love Bees, the Hard Sound Rifle, or Buzzer, is a unique weapon in the human arsenal. By using concentrated sound waves, the rifle can destroy the internal organs of a target, killing them without a trace. For this reason, it was highly favored by the Office of Naval Intelligence. The Buzzer would be an incredibly unique weapon in Halo's sandbox, utilizing a damage type that we've yet to see in the games, opening up who knows what kinds of possibilities. And you may recall that 343 made a pretty big deal about the types of damage a while back, so this new type should fit right in with Infinite's sandbox and setup. The Buzzer is a type of sniper rifle, so we'd need to make it stand out from the normal sniper rifle. I could imagine the gun being able to charge up its shots as a good way to do this. So theoretically, you could shoot a series of weaker shots to take out an enemy, or charge up a deadlier single shot at the risk of missing. Maybe add a small cooldown time on the gun so it's not too OP, but you get the idea. The Hard Sound Rifle is probably one of the coolest EU guns out there, as it has a unique function unlike any seen in the games before. From a pure gameplay point of view, I think the Hard Sound Rifle might be my number 1 wish for weapons added to Halo Infinite. Number 3. The Gravity Wrench. The Gravity Wrench is probably the most unique item on this list, as it has never appeared in any official Halo media. Instead, it only appears in a very early build of Halo, back when the game was still intended for the Mac, and wasn't yet a first-person shooter. In this build, the Gravity Wrench charges up its shots before firing. Beyond that, we don't really have a whole lot of information. I'll be honest, with this entry, I just really like the name and the design of this gun, and for those reasons alone, I'd like to see it made an official Halo weapon. It could be Forerunner, it could be Banished, or even UNSC. Whatever it ends up being, I just want that design and that charged shot. Anything else is inconsequential. Number 2. MA5K. The MA5K is probably the original EU gun I want in the games. First appearing in and on the cover of Halo Ghosts of Onyx, the MA5K carbine is a cut-down version of the MA5B. Fully automatic, its magazine holds 30 7.62 by 51mm full metal jacket armor-piercing rounds. Ever since its first appearance, there has been quite a vocal part of the community asking for this gun in the games. How such a weapon should be balanced is something I can't really say. Finding a way to avoid overlapping with the existing MA40 without making it into an SMG would be a tight rope to walk, but I think 343 could do it. Number 1. The Forerunner Energy Gun. This was the only number 1 choice, and I think most of you probably figured that out. Ever since the premiere of Halo Legends Origins 1 back in 2009 on the original Halo Waypoint, fans have been obsessed with this strange Forerunner weapon that appeared in the short. The unknown weapon's activation is remarkably similar to the energy sword, even using the same sound effect, which seems to imply that it at least inspired the operation of that Covenant weapon. Once activated, the gun fires powerful energy beams, likely hard light based on what we know of Forerunner weaponry, which can even combine into more devastating attacks. While I would never expect that full functionality to appear in Halo Infinite, this weapon could make for a very unique experience. I could see it basically having a standard firing mode while simultaneously operating like an energy sword, so basically, players could switch between a firing mode and a melee mode. Might this be overpowered? Sure, but one could mitigate that with a reduced battery or something. Regardless, this is my number 1 hope for added weapons for Halo Infinite, at least from the EU or never been in a game side of things. Next, let's take a look at my top 10 choices for weapons pulled from other games, be those mainline shooters or Halo's various spin-offs. Number 10, the Infusion Grenade. Essentially an evolution of the Firebomb Grenade from Halo 3, the Infusion Grenade appears in Halo Wars 2. Filled with the same infusion gel that's used in fuel rod guns and hunter assault cannons, infusion grenades were one of several explosives and weapons developed by Voridus, one of Atriox's lieutenants he brought to the Ark. It burns and leaves a damaging area of effect. So again, very much a minor evolution of Halo 3's Firebomb. So why the Infusion Grenade? I personally had a lot of fun with the Firebomb, and while making this list, I thought it would be fun to bring it back with a banished twist. We already have 3 types of grenades in Infinite, I don't think a 4th would be a bad idea. Number 4. Flamethrower/Cryo Sprayer. The Flamethrower is probably more infamous than anything else these days, particularly for its Halo 3 incarnation, but it's another weapon I'd like to see return with some fine-tuning. At the very least, I would want the weapon, if added, to work more like its Halo CE incarnation, acting simply as another power weapon rather than a heavy weapon like a turret. If it were to come back as a heavy weapon, it would absolutely need retuning to make it a real power weapon rather than the death trap it manifested as in Halo 3. Alternatively, maybe 343 could bring in the Flamethrower's colder cousin from Halo Wars 2, the Cryo Sprayer. Once again, you have a unique damage type to add to the game, with some potential new mechanics. I don't know about y'all, but freezing enemies, then shattering them in Halo sounds like a ton of fun, provided it's properly balanced. Number 8. Lightblade. Ever since the proper reveal of the Promethean Knights at E3 2012, there has been a group of fans eager to utilize the Knight's Lightblades as a melee weapon. Though they typically disappear with the rest of the Knight when the Knight is killed, multiplayer is a simulation, so there's no lore reason to keep this out. Even if there was, I'd just say fuck it. The Lightblade is just a cool, visually interesting weapon, and I'd love to see it come to Halo multiplayer in some manner. Number 7.
Plasma Caster.
The Plasma Caster. I'm not entirely sure how this weapon is viewed by the wider community, but I find it to be truly fascinating and unique. Essentially Halo's take on an alien crossbow, the Plasma Caster is, gameplay-wise, essentially an evolution of the Brute Shot and Concussion Rifle with some new gameplay mechanics. By default, it fires bolts of plasma that will eventually detonate, or a charged shot can be fired which shoots further and sticks to objects before exploding. It's a really unique weapon and one I'd love to see return. Even better, Halo Wars 2 already introduced a banished variant, so Infinite wouldn't have to completely reinvent the wheel if 343 wanted to bring this weapon to the game. Number 6. Needle Rifle. What can I say about the Needle Rifle? Introduced in Halo Reach, the Needle Rifle was a replacement for the Covenant carbine within that sandbox, but became so much more than a simple Covenant rifle. Using the Blamite ammunition and Super Combine mechanic of the Needler, the Needle rifle made itself stand out from its predecessor to the point that people have been clamoring for its return ever since. While Halo 5's Blood of Suban was a nice addition to the game, I'd like to see the Needle rifle make a proper return in Infinite, either sporting its original design or a new Banish-style one. Number 5. Binary Rifle. The Binary Rifle is an absolutely brilliant weapon. While the design is a bit too human, like many of the Forerunner weapons introduced in Halo 4 and 5, its function and role in the sandbox in both 343 titles has been great. The weapon is incredibly powerful, but scoping in to get a proper shot puts the user at great risk, so high risk, high reward. And while Halo 4's incarnation was fun in its own right, I think Halo 5 makes the weapon even better. Taking a note from Halo Reach's Focus Rifle, the Halo 5 incarnation of the Binary Rifle also shoots a concentrated beam of energy, though one that does significantly more damage and can quickly kill an enemy. It retains the high-risk, high-reward setup of Halo 4, while introducing a new mechanic that adds a small, extra layer of skill to the weapon. Now, you can't just point and shoot. You have to aim, shoot, and keep on your target until they're dead. The Binary Rifle is a unique take on a sniper-style weapon that I would love to see returned. Incidentally, if you haven't seen Ascend Hyperion's video on the Focus Rifle, which talks a bit on how the Binary Rifle improved on the Focus Rifle's initial ideas, I'd highly recommend it. Number 4. Stanchion. Our next weapon is rather interesting. Once upon a time, fairly recently, relatively speaking, this would have gone on the EU list. However, Halo Wars 2 introduced a version of the Stanchion rifle, so now it's a quote-unquote returning weapon in the loosest definition. But anyway, the M99 Station is a Gauss rifle or magnetic accelerator rifle. First appearing on page 122 of the Halo graphic novel, the weapon is shown here in use by a young Avery J. Johnson as he snipes an insurrectionist leader. The resulting shot obliterates the target and his vehicle, demonstrating the power of the stanchion. This would certainly be a hard weapon to balance if 343 wanted to accurately represent its in-universe power, but I could potentially see it working. It would likely need to be something like a reskinned Spartan laser, where you need to charge the shot and there's only a handful of shots to fire. Maybe weaken it a bit so it can take down light armor in one shot, but tanks are 2 shots or something. I think it could work, and it would just be damn fun to finally hold a version of the stanchion in-game. Number 3. Railgun. Speaking of Gauss weaponry, next on my list is the ARC-920 Railgun. Introduced in Halo 4, the Railgun was another standout addition to the sandbox. Able to one-shot Spartans and do serious damage to vehicles, the Railgun was a fun weapon to use and found a place in both Standard Arena and BTB. If the Railgun did return, I'd hope it would retain the smart scope of Halo 5, though that seems fairly likely given that we saw what appears to be smart scope in the recent Halo Infinite multiplayer reveal. Number 2. Machine Pistols. The machine pistols appeared in Halo Spartan Assault in the bonus co-op mode added to the Xbox version of the game. Essentially a pair of machine guns, they're a fun weapon to use, dealing little damage per shot but featuring a high rate of fire. If brought to Halo Infinite, I would expect a similar setup. What might make them stand out in the sandbox, however, would be if they were always dual-wielded, like in Spartan Assault. Rather than picking up one, you'd pick up 2 automatically. In my head, they'd function as a single weapon too. You wouldn't lose the ability to throw grenades or lose one when switching weapons. You'd just have 2 guns visually that operate as one. There might be some criticisms of that idea, but I think it could work. Number 1. Sticky Detonator. The top of my list here shouldn't be a huge surprise, I think. Easily one of the most beloved weapons 343 have added to Halo in their time with the franchise, the Sticky Detonator was an incredibly unique power weapon. Players could fire small explosives that would stick to anything and detonate on command. Unless the player took too long, in which case the explosive would detonate on its own. People have been asking for this weapon to return ever since the launch of Halo 5, and I can't find any reason that it shouldn't. It wasn't so powerful that it ruined any aspect of the game, but was effective enough to be satisfying to wield. And that, above all, is what I want from any weapon. Powerful and useful, but not disruptive. And hell, if 343 can figure out a way to make it operate like it did in the Halo 4 reveal trailer, well, I certainly wouldn't complain. But those are my top picks for weapons that I would like to see added to Halo Infinite throughout its life. I doubt many, if any, of these specifically will be added, but they're my dream weaponry. It's also possible that some of these are already in Infinite, given that we've yet to see the game's full armory, but until that time, these are my choices. How about you all though? Do you agree or disagree with any of my choices? What weapons would you like to see added to the game as the years go on? Let me know in the comments below. Stick around for the Patreon shoutout, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon. First, I'd like to give a big thank you to our Harspis patrons. First there's Hope, then we have Freight, SS Deco-chan, Discombobulated Sycophant, Justin Montgomery, Ada Frame, and Man in the Dark. Thank you all for your amazing support of the channel. Next, I'd like to thank our theoretical patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or get a direct shout out, check out patreon.com/HaloCanon. You can simply support the channel or get additional benefits such as behind the scenes materials, including raw audio for upcoming videos, or even shoutouts like this. All patrons now get early access to certain videos as well, and more benefits are to come. However, your continued viewership is more than enough for me. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe even subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. If you really enjoy my stuff, turn on that notification bell so you can be among the first to see new videos when they release. But for all my fellow Canonites, keep on being awesome.